I love this book. And, you know, we've got Tim Peake on later on, of course, our wonderful astronaut. And in the actual, when you start talking right away in the book, space launches were a huge part of your life.
Huge.
Yeah.
I was a little girl, my dad worked on the Apollo missions, and that whole moment when the rocket lifts off the ground against gravity and goes up into space, it's the title of my book because it's how do we push against those forces that hold women down instead of allowing us to lift up to our full potential.
This is why this book is fantastic, because there are so many amazing stories in here. Remarkable stories, and you've allowed these stories to be told, because otherwise we wouldn't know about them.
Well, and part of the reason I did this book was I've been lucky enough to travel for 20 years on behalf of the foundation. I've met so many incredible women. And if they were willing to share their personal stories with me, they've called my life to action. I wanted to share those stories with others in hopes of calling other people to action.
What do you want people to get from this book, though? What would you like them to take away, and how would you like them to use what you've written?
I'd like people to understand, men and women, all of the things that hold women back in society. And if we can remove those barriers by looking at them squarely in the eye, we can do something about it. And if you empower a woman, she empowers everyone around her. And so I think we can all look at that in our homes, our communities, and our workplaces, and we can remove many of these barriers.
It feels like this is the right time for this too. There has been a real sea change, hasn't there?
There has been, and I've been thinking of this book for a while, but I decided to write it now because I think we have this window of opportunity with the Me Too movement that's gone global. We need to keep that window open and keep the momentum up if we're truly going to lift up all women.
And do you even experience that? Someone like you, someone who's obviously very powerful, you do an awful lot of good in the world, we know that. But if you're in a room and say you're there with your husband, do they still talk to him before they talk to you, or has that changed?
It happened to me all the time. And I think we all have to look at our own bias. I have to look at, when do I do that to other women inadvertently? When do any of us assume the man is more powerful? That is just a false assumption. But because we don't have female role models at all levels of society in droves, we tend to make that mistake as women and men.
No, that's very true, actually. It really is. And you're a real equal partnership, both of you, especially when it comes to the foundation. You know, you've got your real strengths. I mean, you really have. And it works very well. It wouldn't work otherwise, would it?
No, it wouldn't. But it's important because we look at issues in slightly different ways. And that's what makes the work all the more powerful in terms of helping people lift themselves out of poverty.
But the thing is as well about you don't have to do this. Do you feel like you need to? Is it a duty, or is it just that you think to yourself, you've got to make the world a better place?
I enjoy this work. I enjoy it immensely. It gives me great meaning. I'm using my talents in the way I know how to try and lift up anyone else.
I think that's absolutely brilliant, because you don't need to. Like I say, you really don't. And I think it's amazing that you've been able to keep your family together, apart from anything else, but also real feet on the ground. Your kids, you know, they are grounded, and you would expect them to have an amazing sense of, I suppose, entitlement, but they don't. And that's a job well done.
Thank you, thank you. I think, you know, we've worked very purposefully to try and raise our children with great values and to understand that, you know, we're lucky. If you grow up in the United Kingdom or you grow up in the United States, you are lucky. And so our children have been fortunate enough to travel. They do lovely trips and safaris, but they've also seen poverty on the ground, and they realize they could have been born in that situation. And so their job is to figure out, again, what can they do to help other people lift themselves up?
So you encourage them to do that, which is terrific.
Absolutely. And we've taken them out for homestays in Africa, not just to visit, but literally to live in homes and to understand what life is like on the other side of the world.
Gosh, that's amazing. And you still do things like, you do the dishes at home?
We all do the dishes at home, all five of us.
That's really, really important. I mean, Bill used to take your daughter to school.
Yes.
That's really important, because it's that thing of dividing jobs into, oh, that's for women and that's for men. And we shouldn't be at that stage now.
No, in fact, one of the issues I talk about in the book is this thing called unpaid labor, the work we do in our homes. Some of it loving work we want to do and caring work, and some of it just chores. The dishes need to get done, the lunch boxes need to be filled. We have shared those jobs as a family so that our son and our two daughters start to understand that That's part of what you do.
Yeah.
But this unpaid work, women do, in the UK, women do 100 minutes more a day than men in unpaid labor in their homes. And we need to all look at that in the US and the UK, around the world, and say, we can reduce that and we should redistribute the workload.
No, very much so. And it really doesn't matter at the end of the day how much money you've got necessarily, because money doesn't always equate with happiness. I mean, you've managed to make it work for you because you get fulfillment out of what you do. But you see, some of the most miserable people in the world are people that are incredibly wealthy, but they don't necessarily do what you do. They don't sort of pass it on. You know, they don't do these things. And happiness, when we talk about happiness, I always think contentment is very underrated. You know, you should feel just at ease.
Yeah, and a sense of joy.
Yeah,
and for
you're
me,
right.
it's gratitude. To always have gratitude. You know, when I wake up in the morning, I turn on my shower and I get warm or cold water. If you live in these places I've been in Africa, there isn't any clean water.
You have to walk for miles, don't you?
You have to walk for miles. There's no toilet. I mean, these things that are so basic in our lives that we're so lucky to have. And so when you can have gratitude, I think it brings you great joy.
And it's about the people that you're with, and it's about love and all of these things. And you've still got to work hard at a relationship. I mean, you go on date nights.
We do.
Which I think is a great thing to do. Even if you've been married for ages, you should actually make an effort. Go out on a date. Why
Yes. Bill and I have been very purposeful about date nights ever since our children were born, all the way through today.
I think it's a fantastic idea. And what you've been doing with malaria, trying to eradicate malaria, that has been, I mean, that's saved countless millions of lives. You'll never know, I guess, how many.
No, we never will know, but it's the work we and our partners do. And when a woman or a man has a malarial bed net in their home and they can sleep under it and their children can sleep under it, they don't get all those episodes and the children don't die then of malaria, or the pregnant wife. So those malaria bed nets have been, that and vaccines have brought down the death rate immensely for children in the developing world.
Gosh, if you never even do anything else, that is what a legacy. What an amazing legacy. Melinda, thank you so much for coming in. The Moment of Lift is out now. And then, as I said, we'll be talking to Tim Peake later as well. So there's a very nice theme running through the show. Thank you.
Thanks for this
coming in.
conversation,
Great
Lorraine.
to see you. Great to see you. Thank you so much.